Hey, how you doing? This is Tom, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show. And continuing on the theme about emergency situations and emergency communications, I'm going to talk about something today that parts of it is a little controversial, and I won't go too much into that part. And other parts are very important, and that's how you can communicate when you have an emergency. You have a hurricane or a tornado, or maybe worse than that, and your power is down, your cell phone is dead, the cell phone towers are down. How can you communicate to other people? Number one, to let your friends and neighbors know you're okay, or number two, that you need help. Well, one of the ways is communicating on the amateur radio band. And there are a number of ways you can do that, and one of them is getting one of these little radios. This particular radio is the Bofang UV-5R. I've done shows on this radio, a number of shows on this radio. I've done shows on other models of the Bofang radios. And for the price, they are a fantastic deal. Now, some people say, oh, they're Chinese radio and they don't work. And I've got about four of them and they all work fine. Plus, they're so inexpensive. Right now, let me just show you something. Right now, this is the Banggood website, and they have two warehouses. They have one in China and one in the United States. The one in China has much, much more in the way of merchandise. The one in the United States gives you, if you live in the United States, gives you fast shipping. I have ordered things. Matter of fact, a couple of weeks I ordered some things from the U.S. warehouse, and it took 3 or 4 days, and I got it. I've also ordered things from the China warehouse, and it took about a month. So that's the difference. But here is that radio, the Bofang UV-5R. When I bought it, over a year ago, when it first came out, it was about $32 to $35. Now, since there have been several newer models come out, the original model is only $22. And this is a transceiver. It will transmit and receive on the amateur radio bands, the VHF and UHF bands. It has a wideband receiver. It will even act as a scanner. I think it's kind of a crude scanner, but it will act as a scanner. And I think there is a capability of transmitting outside of the designated amateur radio bands, but you don't want to do that, of course. And the question is, which is a little controversial, is if you have one of these radios and you don't have an amateur radio license, which is very easy to get, it's a multiple choice test. You do a little studying, and there's lots of aids to help you study for the test. You pass the test and you get your license. It's that simple. And then you're able to operate on only the VHF and UHF bands, and maybe a little bit of the upper HF band in certain modes. Okay, so if we come down here, it has a frequency range, and this is kind of the range around the two amateur radio bands, the VHF 2-meter band and the UHF 70 centimeter band, but it goes beyond that, as you can see by these numbers. And it will actually transmit be outside those bands, which I don't recommend you do that. And then the controversial thing is, if you don't have a license and you have one of these radios and it's a dire emergency, and I don't mean just, you had a fender bender or cut your finger or something like that. I mean, hurricane, tornado, whatever, it's an emergency. Part of the community says you can operate on those frequencies even though you don't have a license in those cases. Some people say, no, 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 you can't do that. Can't do it. And the beauty is, in the amateur radio world, there are groups that are set up for emergency communications. One of them I can think of is called ARES, AES, or ARES, excuse me, ARES. I forgot what it stands for, but it's related to emergency communication. And so people are monitoring certain bands in the case of emergency. Now, I thought the 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands in my area were dead. So for the past 2 days, I've been listening to these frequencies, and they're very active. They're only active early in the morning and late in the afternoon, not much during the day. But people are out there listening all the time. And they will especially be listening when there's an emergency. So I'm suggesting that, number one, you get one of these radios. And it's a wideband receiver too, so you can hear NOAA weather on it and other frequencies that are used during emergency communications. And it's only $22. And that's with free shipping. Now, I don't work for or anything or getting kickback from Banggood, but they did last year. They were sending me products to review, but they've since stopped doing that. Now they have their own channel on YouTube, so they don't send stuff out for people to review on their channel. So I don't get that anymore. But I have dealt with them in the past. I have purchased stuff myself personally and gotten good service. Okay, so much for that. And you can search the internet for this radio and get it other places, maybe not as good a price as this. I know you can get them from Amazon, but they're going to be about $30 or more from Amazon. So anyway, or you can get them from my Amazon store. So that's what I'm trying to say is get yourself one of these radios, take the time to learn how to use it. There's books. I've shown you books. It shows you how to use these things, where to listen, where to communicate. Go back and see those shows that I've done. Get those books to help you out. Of course, there's tons of YouTube videos about this specific subject that you can watch, but be prepared. It seems like this year and last year, as far as tornadoes, it seems like either the coverage on TV has really grown or the number of tornadoes and the huge disaster has really grown. Fires is another thing that's really been on the news this year. Even in Florida, we've had some really bad fires and people have lost their homes. Again, they had this radio and they couldn't get their cell phone to work or whatever. They could try to use this. I did a couple of videos on different antennas you can get for this radio, and I got about 10-mile distance, which was enough to get to a local amateur radio repeater, which will give me even more distance. So that's my suggestion. You need to be prepared. Anyway, if you enjoyed this show, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye-bye.